The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Business Channel. For more information about our network and to check out additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericabusiness.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
In the past few years, we've heard the term free agents and been told we would all need to become one in order to succeed. The recent economic structures have helped to promote this concept as reality. Where do we get the tools to take control of our career path in the present and future? Welcome to The Career Confidant with your host, Marie Zimenoff. Marie and her guest experts are here to provide you with the tools you need to move forward and achieve your career goals. Now, here is Marie Zimenoff.
Well, hello and welcome to the Career Confidant. We're excited that you're joining us here today for another great topic around career development. We started this show to help you get the tools and resources that you need to take control of your own career path. And I bring in guests from now and then to give you that intelligence, give you those tools, provide you with great resources that you can use to take control of your own career, whether you're just looking to advance or looking to find a new job, or perhaps you're unemployed. So we cover a wide variety of topics on the show. Now, one of the things that I've heard a lot from prospective clients, any of you out there who are thinking about making a transition or trying to advance your career, is concern and misunderstanding and perhaps a little bit of confusion around how the careers industry works. And I think it is challenging for you as the public to understand why you would hire a career professional, how you hire someone, what's a fair price to pay for a resume or career coaching, and how do you determine the quote-unquote good providers from those who may not be so quality. And so we're going to talk about that today and how you can better understand the careers industry, because it is in some ways new, although it's been around since the early 1900s when vocational counseling was first founded. Now, most people think about vocational counselors as your high school guidance counselor, right? Who took that test with you, which by the way is an assessment, not a test, and told you that you should be a bus driver. And unfortunately, that stigma has stuck with the industry for way too long. And then maybe 10 years ago, this new thing called life coaching took over the world, and life coaches have gone up and down in their public perception in terms of how effective they are and what they actually help with. And there's been several movies making fun of them. I guess my favorite is Failure to Launch. Haven't watched it. Matthew McConaughey is an adult who lives with his parents, and his parents hire a relationship coach or life coach whose job is to make him fall in love with her. Kate Hudson, not hard, right? And then through that process, he will magically want to move out of the house. Of course, it backfires. It's hilarious. It's especially if you're in the mood for something funny, that go ahead and watch it. Of course, you also see the other side of the career services world in the movies when we have movies like George Clooney going around and firing people from their jobs, and Up in the Air is the name of that one, and is very hard to watch, very painful to watch. Of course, any of us who've been in that situation know how painful that is, and the movie definitely depicted the process, and maybe George Clooney's in some way glorifying it, but in other ways shows how difficult that process is on both sides of the table. And that may be some people's idea of what career services are. Something that is brought in to try to fill a gap when you're getting laid off. And it can be. But career services is really a large industry, and it is a group of professionals, just like lawyers or your CPAs, tax professionals, who are hired out to help an individual or a company with a specific need. Of course, that specific need relating around career change, career transition, job search, interview coaching, resume writing, helping you to determine your brand, right? How do you stand out? How are you different? And career advancement. Lots of companies today are bringing in leadership and or career coaches to help with their company's retention and development internally. The hard part with coaching and resume writing, of course, is that there isn't the level of accreditation across the board like there is with your CPAs and your lawyers, right? There's no bar association for resume writers. There's no consistent training for coaches, and that makes it challenging for you as an individual to select a service provider. It also makes it challenging to determine the quality of that person's work, but we're going to talk today about some of the ways that you can do that, some of the ways that you can be a better consumer when you're working with these people in this industry. But I would say the first thing is really understanding that these are professionals, service providers, who at least have gone through some kind of training, just like a lawyer or a CPA. In fact, there are master's degrees. I have one in career counseling. And a lot of the coaching programs are similar to a master's degree in some of those other fields. Of course, it's not a 4-year law degree, we'll give you that. But it is an opportunity to work with a professional. Right off the bat here, I will say that it's like working with any other service provider, in that most of them are going to expect that you pay before the service is provided, or that you are paying an appropriate amount and appropriate timeliness, like you would with a lawyer, right? You may not pay a lawyer up front, but of course you know that they will find a way to get that money should you default. Other thing is that most of these individuals, resume writers and career counselors, coaches, consultants, are independent business owners. They don't necessarily work for a large firm, and there can be positives and negatives to both. And of course, there are some firms out there that you could work with, and we'll talk about the positives and negatives of those. So let's start. We're going to talk first a little bit about resume writing, and then we'll talk about coaching. Why would you hire a resume writer? Right, a resume writer seems like maybe it's a secretary, someone who's going to type what you've written. Most of that, no, we'll talk about that. Or it may be something that you think, hey, I can do this for myself. And of course, you are absolutely right. So let's talk about the pros and cons of that. First of all, resume writing is marketing. It is no longer a simple subscription or outline of what you've done in the past. It's not a regurgitation of your work history. I know, you might be thinking, well, then what in the heck is it if it's not my work history? It is your work history carefully crafted into a marketing piece that is looking forward, not back. So your work history is in the document, that's true, but the focus of the document, the wording of the document, is really focused on where you want to go, using the language of the target audience that is in your future, and highlighting the right skills, accomplishments, and value add to speak to that target audience. And so if there's not some critical thought put into what you communicate and how you communicate, as I said, a simple listing of everything that you've done is no longer going to work today. People don't have the time, they're not paying attention. So keep that in mind if you decide you want to do it for yourself. So a resume writer is trained, a good one at least, and we'll talk about that, in marketing, in grammar, in business writing, and understands the difference between a resume and other types of writing. The type of sentence structure, making it crisp and quick and clean and easy to read. The other thing, and maybe the bigger thing, is that when you're marketing something, you don't choose the engineer that built it to market it, right? The engineer can talk about the cool things with the technology, and they can talk about maybe even some of the components that go into this technology, but they're usually not great at communicating the benefits of that technology to the target audience. They're too close to it. It's not their world. It's not their skill set. As one of my friends likes to say, sure, I could cut my own hair, but I've learned after years, or maybe when I was 5, that cutting my own hair doesn't go so well, doesn't look so great, doesn't look so professional. A resume writer offers you the same kind of opportunity to get a perspective outside of yourself, work with a professional who's trained in that line of work, and get someone who understands marketing. Now, the funny part for me is that most of my clients that I work with on the resume side are in sales and marketing. Why? Because they understand the value of having a perspective outside of themselves, and they know that they can't sell themselves as well as they should because they know the value of selling themselves. Of course, they also work with a lot of engineers who just know that it's not their bag, and good for them. Lastly, an article in Forbes from 2013 actually talks about kind of hard reasons that you might hire a resume writer. Forbes 2013 article, job seekers are 40% more likely to get noticed with a professionally written resume. That goes back to this marketing piece, the focus, the immediate appeal to the audience, and of course, even the visual appeal. If you write your resume yourself, please don't use a template. You're going to look like everybody else, right? It's a great part of a template, and what makes it not work for a marketing document, a resume, that should help you stand out in a good way. So when you're thinking about hiring a resume writer, I encourage you to think about it as a marketing piece, it as an opportunity to connect with the audience who will be reading it quickly. And of course, you might say, well, I don't need a resume, I need a LinkedIn profile. And everything we've just been talking about is also true for a LinkedIn profile, maybe even more true because you have less characters and you need a very personable profile on LinkedIn, something that really speaks to your audience. And a good writer is going to help get your voice into a profile or resume in a better way than you could, perhaps, but not because they know better, but because they can listen, they can ask great questions, and they can capture your words and get beyond the generalities and overused phrases by getting you to tell your stories and talk about the things that are really important to you. It's not about them making things up, for sure, or putting words in your mouth. It's really a good writer is able to ask good questions and get you to say great things that then they're just putting into massaging, making crisp, clean, clear, and easy to read, and in the appropriate voice for your target audience, whether that's on a resume or in a LinkedIn profile. So we're going to come back after our break and talk about the process, what to look for, what questions do you ask if you are going to use this kind of professional, or do some research to see if you want to use a resume or LinkedIn profile writer. What can you ask to be as best as possible comfortable with hiring a person to do this kind of work? We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
Voice America Business Network, the bottom line in business.
You know that the career landscape has changed and that you need to be proactive about managing your career. You can have the foresight, skills, and confidence you need to take charge of your career and seize opportunities. A strategic advantage and career expert, Marie Zimenoff has helped thousands of leaders like you get focused, get found, and get hired. Visit getcareersmart.com to find out more. That's getcareersmart.com or call 800-521-2080 to schedule your complimentary consultation. Does your organization lack proper leadership? We're not necessarily talking about experience, but about how to face the changing dynamic of leadership today. Sometimes the people we lead know more. Old ways don't work anymore, and the comfort zone just becomes too easy. Listen for Out of the Comfort Zone with Dr. Wanda Wallace. We'll show you how you can adapt and develop your leadership skills to today's workplace every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time on Voice America Business.
There are two types of leaders in business. Those who are nice, compassionate people, and frankly, they are the people who fail to get a lot done. Then there are those who can get everything done and so much more. But they are greedy, unethical, and self-centered. The Compassionate Samurai Business Hour with Kathy Fairbanks finds a way to use the best of both types of leaders to help you create a dynamic roadmap to success. Tune in every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern on Voice America Business.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN.
You are tuned in to The Career Confidant with Marie Zimenoff. If you have a question or comment for Marie or her guest today, please call 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. You may also send an email to marie@astrategicadvantage.com. Now, back to The Career Confidant.
Welcome back to the Career Confidant, and today we're doing a little bit of consumer education for those of you who are considering or maybe are just confused about this whole thing called the career services industry. So again, usually independent business owners, some variety of training in either resume writing, career coaching, career counseling, career consulting, lots of different things out there. So we're going to talk through some of those. We started with resume writing and some general thoughts around understanding that these are trained professionals. They are doing business just like a lawyer, doctor, CPA, any other independent career or independent service provider you might think of. So when you're going to hire a resume or LinkedIn profile writer, you're really looking at their training, their expertise, and in some ways, their work. So here's a few questions you might ask or try to research on your own. What training do they have in writing career documents? The issue here is that many certifications do not offer training. They only require a submission of a document and it's pass or fail if that person meets the criteria. So unfortunately, a certification cannot always guarantee quality. The Resume Writing Academy offers training programs, and still the graduates of that are going to have varied outcomes, right? It is a quite extensive training program. People definitely leave better than they came in, and it's still going to have a variety. The people on the other end are still going to have a variety of outcomes. So you might want to ask a few questions of your career providers. Who are their typical clients? What do they do for continuing education? Part of the Resume Writing industry's issue is that less than 20%, less than 20% of them do continuing education. So ask. Those in this industry who are doing continuing education, going to conferences, listening to webinars, are going to be more likely to be on top of trends. So ask. Don't be afraid to ask. You can ask for a sample. A lot of the best writers aren't going to put a sample up on the internet. There's too much plagiarism going on in our world right now. It's too easy to find and steal, and they don't want to hurt their current clients by allowing that to happen, even if the work is fictionalized when they put it online. But you can always ask via email. Don't be surprised if you get a sample that is wildly different than the industry you're in. They're not going to hand it to you on a silver platter. And it should give you an idea of their style and what they do for their clients in terms of outcomes. Also, ask about process. What does their process look like? Do they do an interview? Do they do a worksheet? Do they do both? And really think about what will work for you. A lot of people I work with like an interview. They don't have to do as much work. But some people, if you're very thoughtful, you like to gather all your data before, you might want someone who uses a worksheet, or request if they've got a worksheet that you can use first. That's the beauty of this process. Really is not the resume that comes out on the other side, but the opportunity to talk through your stories, talk through your successes with someone who's external, with someone who's an expert, and has heard thousands of people like you tell similar stories, and knows what to ask, where to dig, and how to help you really tell that story in a more profound and interest-catching way. So if we're thinking about using a writer, again, that's one of the large benefits, is that opportunity to really talk through your career, talk through your stories, and have someone guide you in which parts of those maybe need to be dug into a little bit further, and what you need to communicate for the person on the other side. And that's what a great resume writer or LinkedIn profile writer will do. Ask those questions that really make you think and get good content. And you will find that some resume writers will do what you might call a refresh or a polish, where they'll take your old resume and just make it look better. Most of the writers that have been in the industry for a while are not going to do that, because they know the real beauty and power of the process is getting great content, which most people don't have on their existing documents, and therefore polishing what you already have. You know what they say about polishing things that are already brown. So it may not be the best option for you when you hear that from a writer that they don't do that. They may not be just trying to sell you something. They may actually have a reason for the process that they use and how they go about getting that great content to really make your resume different, and make it different for those applications you're sending in, make it stand out in a good way. So, questions to ask again. What training do they have? Who are their typical clients? How do they stay on top of industry trends what continuing education are they doing? Can they provide samples? And then also look at their LinkedIn profile. Do they have testimonials? Of course, you can ask for a reference, but that's kind of like your work references, right? Of course, that writer is going to give you someone who is wildly happy about it. So if you talk to that person, ask them good questions. What did they like about the process? Those deeper types of questions, not just did they enjoy the process. Do they use a questionnaire or an interview or both? And then what's included with the resume writing service? Do they have a limit on the amount of changes that they allow? Is it one focus? Most of that will be a yes, right? We're going to do a resume with one focus. If you want a second focus, that's a second project. Are you going to work directly with them or with a team member? And you may ask if they do their own writing. Looking at a sample will help you determine some of that. But it's important in our world today of outsourcing, which is very effective and efficient, to know that that writing is going to be good. So let's talk here a minute about pricing. If you pay $50 for a resume, there's no way the person on the other end is spending more than 2 hours working on that. It's just not happening, right? Especially as an independent business person. There's no way they can live on less than $25 an hour as an independent business owner. So what's happening with that $50? It is most likely going to someone in India who is copying and pasting from other resumes, job descriptions, Department of Labor websites for your type of job. They're copying and pasting something together, and you're getting that document. Might work fine for some types of professionals. If you want an individualized, customized resume, you want to talk to the person who is going to be writing or talk to someone who's going to be talking to the person who's doing the writing, you can expect to pay at least $200 for that resume. That person's going to be making maybe $50 an hour, right? Because they're talking to you, they're writing, they're doing their changes. And that's a healthy amount for a business owner to be making. Nowhere near what a lawyer or a doctor makes. And of course, you'll be thinking about that pricing. Now, good writers who've been writing for a while, will charge anywhere between $250 and $3,000 for a resume. That's a wide range. Now, price and high price doesn't always guarantee quality. You still are going to ask these questions. And a lot of it's going to be based on where the writer lives, right? People in higher priced areas can afford to charge more because people there can pay more. And so I know some really great writers in small towns in the South and those types of areas who charge less, maybe on that low end, around $300 a resume, even though they're great writers. Because in some ways they can afford to, they have a lower cost of living, and they need to charge that much in some ways to get local business. So when we're thinking about a writer, that's a wide range. And we know that price figures into quality in some ways, but of course, paying $3,000 isn't going to guarantee that you get a great product. You'll still want to ask about process, ask about training, and look at those samples. Do the whole thing, no matter what you're going to pay. Of course, someone who's only charging $150 probably isn't going to be that invested in selling you and giving you samples and having all of that. It's part of their process. Something else to watch out for. The other things to be aware of. If you don't tell the whole story, you're not going to get a great resume. Was talking to a colleague who had worked with a client that had paid a lot of money for a resume, and the resume wasn't working. Well, it turned out that they didn't tell the writer that they had had a huge issue in their career that was very public. It was out on the web. And by not telling that writer about it, the writer couldn't help that person mitigate it, both on the resume and perhaps on LinkedIn, and maybe even in other places that writers help mitigate online reputation. And so there's no way that that person was going to get a job without addressing those issues in a cover letter, online, and of course also in the interview, which is important. The resume writer is just helping you get that interview. If you have an issue, you may still need help with preparing on how to answer those difficult questions in an interview. And that brings us to the coaching side of the house. When we come back from our break, we're going to dive into career coaching, all the different things a career coach can help you with, and what you should be aware of there as a consumer. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
The business community's first choice in Internet Talk Radio. Voice America Business Network.
You know that the career landscape has changed and that you need to be proactive about managing your career. You can have the foresight, skills, and confidence you need to take charge of your career and seize opportunities. A strategic advantage and career expert, Marie Zimenoff has helped thousands of leaders like you get focused, get found, and get hired. Visit getcareersmart.com to find out more. That's getcareersmart.com or call 800-521-2080 to schedule your complimentary consultation.
You have a message. You want to share that message. You want it to be social, to go viral, and spread across the planet. But how do you get started? Tune into Amplify, featuring host Ken Rochon and co-host Gisela Gonzalez. This show is here to help you take that message and channel it through the most effective marketing techniques to not only be successful, but have a positive impact on the world. Tune in live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific on the Voice America Business Channel, and get amplified.
Bob Pritchard has over 30 years of experience as a straight-talking business consultant and author working with some of the top Fortune 500 companies. Now he's come to the Voice America Business Channel to help you and your business. Tune in to the Bob Pritchard Radio Show for information about starting and successfully running a profitable business. From the movers and shakers to great marketing screw-ups, you can't afford to miss a single edition of the Bob Pritchard Radio Show. Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on Voice America Business.
Now you don't have to stay linked to your desktop or laptop. Take Voice America on the go and listen anywhere. Get our mobile app for iPhone, BlackBerry, or Android at the Apple iTunes App Store, BlackBerry App World, or Android Market.
Voice America Business Network. The bottom line in business.
You are tuned in to The Career Confidante with Marie Zimenoff. If you have a question or comment for Marie or her guest today, please call 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. You may also send an email to marie@astrategicadvantage.com. Now, back to The Career Confidante.
Welcome back to the Career Confidant, and today we're doing a little bit of consumer education around the career services industry, resume writers, career coaches, counselors, consultants. What do all of these people do? What do they mean? And are they legit? Are they real? And so we've talked a little bit about resume writers, and that there are organizations, there are individuals who do this for a living. They are writers, they understand marketing, grammar, how resume and LinkedIn content should look, sound, feel, how to get across your message to your future employer, not just write an obituary about where you've been. That's their value. Now, I would recommend that you look at it, if you're looking at a resume writer, that you look at a few specific organizations. The Resume Writing Academy offers training in resume writing. It's one of the only trainings in the industry for resume writing. Again, still want to ask all these questions, get your samples, really understand your writer's skills, but at least you know they've got some kind of training. They don't teach resume writing in graduate school. I went to graduate school in career counseling, and we had maybe 2 classes on resume writing, and it wasn't very in-depth. So just because someone has a degree, even in career counseling, which is rare, does not mean they have training in resume writing. Again, if someone has an English degree, does not mean they understand resume writing. What training have they done? Resume Writing Academy, great place to start. Other organization, very high level of certification and integrity in the business is the National Resume Writing Association. So Resume Writing Academy provides the Academy Certified Resume Writer as their certification. The National Resume Writing Association, the NRWA.com, offers a certification as well that is very high standard. Those are the two organizations I would recommend in terms of being at the top of the stack for a professional resume writer. Of course, Career Thought Leaders offers the Master Resume Writer, which is someone who's been doing it for a long time and shows a very high level of quality, and so that can be a great place to go to. ResumeWritingAcademy.com, the NRWA.com, and CareerThoughtLeaders.com. Great places to start. So maybe resume writing is not your issue, or maybe it's not the only issue. You want some help with your career decision making, with your job search, with interviewing. All of those things fall under the house of a career coach or career counselor. Now, some of you might say, what's the difference between a coach and a counselor? Well, typically career counselors have more training in assessment and a little bit more in depth in terms of counseling, right? Asking great questions, understanding how to dig in and find what's holding you back. But they are fairly similar in their training to coaches, simply because it's career counseling, not mental health or substance abuse, right? We're talking about career counseling here, which is fairly solution future focused. We're not going to dig into the psychoanalytics of why you are stuck where you are most of the time. Career coaches trained in coaching can also have good training in assessments, but most coaching programs tend to be a little bit lighter there. And training in the process of coaching, which is really helping you figure out what's missing, where are the gaps, where do you want to go, and how do you get there? Setting those great action steps, action plans to get where you want to go. This, of course, is the value of working with a counselor or a coach. It's that opportunity, again, to have a perspective outside of yourself that can really help you achieve your goals, see gaps, identify gaps, and move forward. Now, a lot of times people will say to me, what's your success rate? 100%, right? All of my clients find jobs. That's not the measure of success for a coach. The measure of success for a coach is how quickly. And I would say the same thing is somewhat true of a resume writer. A coach, working with a coach, should cut your job search, job transition time by a third, whatever it is. So don't ask your prospective coaches their success rate. Ask them how quickly they're able to help people land. What do their clients look like? Ask a little bit deeper question, because that success rate really doesn't mean much. All of my clients find jobs, but if all of them take 3 years to do so, that might be information that you want to know. So the reasons you would work with a coach: to improve your productivity, to get motivated, to create a process, right? If you're struggling with the process of finding work, the process of finding a new career, if you are swimming, right? You're just swimming in all of the wonderful self-help information that is out there. A coach can be a great person to help you sort through it and actually take some action steps towards where you want to be. Coaches and or career counselors are specifically trained in career transition. So thinking about what do you want to look for? You want to look for someone who has specific training or expertise in careers. What do they specialize in? Do they have client success stories that sound like you? You can ask them to tell you a client success story. Can you tell me about a time, right? Just like you're going to get in an interview, can you tell me about a time you worked with someone who was struggling with their interviewing? Ask those questions. Most of the time they're experts in process, so consider their expertise in the process you need assistance with. Job search, interviewing, career transition, career decision making. And that expertise in the process is really more important than expertise in a specific industry, IT, healthcare, whatever you want to have, whatever industry you're in. Of course, it's nice if they've worked with some people in your industry. And if you can find someone who has both expertise in the process and expertise in the industry, that's great. But a coach is not meant to be an expert in your area of careers. They're really meant to be the expert in guiding you through the process. Ask them about their structure. How do they work with clients? And really understanding what structure is going to work for you. Do you need someone that has more structure? Are you looking for kind of a hop in, hop out kind of coaching relationship? Those will all be important things to know for yourself before you move into searching for a coach. Training and certification, again, is important. Where did they get that training? Can you research the school or organization that they got it from? And again, having a specific training in career is important. Someone with a general coaching certificate or life coaching certificate may not have the tools for helping you with career-specific issues. Again, those processes, job search, interviewing, assessments, career decision-making, those things you learn in a specific program for career counseling or career coaching. And again, how do they stay current? What continuing education do they do to understand how things are changing in the career transition, job search, interviewing world? Right? This is a fast-paced industry where things are moving quite rapidly, and most likely that's why you're looking for help, because the job search process has changed so much. So you want to make sure that you're working with someone who understands those changes because they're doing their own continuing education. So if you're looking for coaches and or counselors, you can look for programs that are recognized by the International Coach Federation. My favorite in terms of career-specific training is the academies. The academies run by Susan Whitcomb. And CareerBridge Institute offers a training for career transition coaches as well, very specific to the issues that people face making career transitions. Reach Personal Branding offers some brand development coaching training. So if you're looking for someone to help you with your brand, and that process is very similar to the career decision-making, career focus kind of process, those can be good places to start. So International Coaches Federation, again, make sure that your coach has specific training in the area you need help with, or organizations like the Academies, CareerBridge Institute, and Reach Personal Branding. Counselors will hold a degree, right, in Masters of Education, Master of Arts, in a counseling or related field. Again, look for that career-specific training. Someone with a counselor degree will not necessarily have training in career transition unless it was specific to that program or something that they've done outside of that program. Coaches can have all kinds of funky letters after their name. So ask more about that training. What did they get training in? What do they consider to be their area of expertise? Asking those specific questions, especially of coaches whose training programs can be varied and in their content, effectiveness, length, all of the above. So ask those questions and really understand who you're working with and what type of coaching training your individual career provider has. So we're going to take another short break, come back and close up our conversation here about career coaching, counseling, resume writing by talking about what you can expect to pay for a career coach or career counselor and some final questions you should ask these folks before you dig in. We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
The business community's first choice in Internet Talk Radio, Voice America Business Network.
You know that the career landscape has changed and that you need to be proactive about managing your career. You can have the foresight, skills, and confidence you need to take charge of your career and seize opportunities. A strategic advantage and career expert, Marie Zimenoff has helped thousands of leaders like you get focused, get found, and get hired. Visit getcareersmart.com to find out more. That's getcareersmart.com or call 800-521-2080 to schedule your complimentary consultation. Where is the best place to put your money? Rick Saylor with co-host Eric Hamburg will take the mystery out of investing in order to keep your hard-earned wealth performing and protecting to its maximum potential. Listen for Straight Talk, Clear Decisions, live every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
Rick Saylor, smooth financial sailing for the best part of your life.
What does a visual workplace mean to you? How does it contribute to operational excellence? And what steps do you take to put it powerfully in place? Listen to The Visual Workplace, work that makes sense, to find out. Each week, Dr. Gwendolyn Galsworth, visual workplace expert and award-winning author, shares tools and strategies to help you make the workplace speak at a glance without saying a word. Learn to work safer, faster, better, and at far less cost no matter what business you're in. Tune in to The Visual Workplace every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on Voice America Business.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
You are tuned in to The Career Confidante with Marie Zimenoff. If you have a question or comment for Marie or her guest today, please call 1-866-472-5790. That's 1-866-472-5790. You may also send an email to marie@astrategicadvantage.com. Now, back to The Career Confidante.
Welcome back to The Career Confidante, and today we've been talking about consumer education for you who may be thinking about working with a resume writer, career coach, or career counselor, someone in the careers industry who can help you move forward with your career. So we've been talking a little bit about the career coaching side of the house and questions to ask them, understanding their training. Do they have training and processes and expertise in the area you need help with, whether that's job search, interviewing, career transition, or maybe even advancement? What's their expertise in helping you achieve those goals? Then, of course, you're going to ask questions about cost. How do they work with clients? How do they structure their services? Is it by the hour? Is it a package? Do they have a team, or do they work with you one-on-one? Just like in the resume world, you'll want to make sure you understand who you'll be working with. You can expect to pay anywhere from $75 to $300 per hour for a coach. Similar to resume writing, it's a wide range. And of course, the cost doesn't always equate to quality. So you'll want to ask questions and really understand the experience and expertise of the coach that may be figuring into that price. But it's not a $25 an hour kind of thing for most individuals, unless they've structured their services in some way to appeal to that audience. I do know a few coaches who charge on the lower end, and they do their coaching via email or even Twitter and text. So much different feel and care, if you will, that you're going to get than if you're working via phone, Skype, or even face-to-face with a coach who's most likely going to charge more in that $75 to $300 per hour range. Now, when you're thinking about either of these things, a resume writer or a coach, it's really that opportunity to address a concern that you're having. So you're thinking about why are you thinking about this? Right? Are you stuck? Have you been going in circles lots of times? That's a great time to look at a coach. With your resume or your LinkedIn profile, are you not getting the feedback that you're looking for? With resumes, that could mean if you're not getting at least 30% return on your applications, there may be something you want to look at in the resume. The person you send it to may say, the resume looks pretty good. There may be a few things here or there, and maybe we need to talk about what types of positions you're applying to. Are you trying to take a step up? Maybe there's a disconnect that's a little deeper than the resume, and again, a resume writer should be able to help you with that, rectify that gap, and write a document that speaks more to the audience and can go a little deeper than just how does it look and or sound. If you find that you're not getting interviews for the right positions, that might be an issue with your resume, might be an issue with your job search strategy. So if you keep getting interviews for lower level positions than you're wanting, or you're getting calls off of your LinkedIn profile for things that aren't interesting, there may be a disconnect that a writer could help you with. A coach could help you identify that disconnect and then put the pieces together. Or perhaps you may, again, be kind of in that position where you're not sure what you want to do, and you've got some ideas, but you're not positive. That may take that combination of coaching and resume writing. I know most career professionals do both. Some will only do one or the other, and some will have a team so that they can do part of the coaching with you, then they connect you to the resume writer on their team. And that team approach can be very beneficial if, of course, it's well managed. So you'll want to understand from the individual running that practice how that process is managed. I know some that manage it very well and take very good care of their clients, even though they're having multiple career services providers help them. And I know some where the client ends up feeling like being passed around or bounced around and nobody really knows the whole story, and that can be frustrating. So understanding how those pieces work together if you're working with a bigger organization can be very helpful. Overall, it's understanding that this is a credible industry. Although, just like any other industry, of course, there are variations in the service and quality of the services that people receive. Lawyers, CPAs, you're going to have a variety of experiences with any of those professions, regardless of the training and certifications and consistency in those things across the industry. And with the careers and resume writing industry, there is more variation because of that lack of regulation. But that doesn't mean that those services don't have value and that there aren't great professionals out there who are looking to help you. One of the biggest mistakes I see individuals make is the faulty thinking that someone who charges you less wants to help you more than someone who charges you more. A cheap service or a discounted service usually doesn't mean that that business owner is not making money. We're all in business or in work, and we all need to put food on our tables, right? Whether you're working for a company or an independent business owner. And so even someone who's charging you less for these services has some business practice that's making that profitable for them. It may be a higher volume, which can work out for you. Again, it may be that they live in a lower cost area of the country, which could work out for you. It may be that they're outsourcing their work to a non-English speaking country, which may not work out for you. And those people who charge a more premium for their service may be more experienced, higher trained, produce better quality, or they may just think they can charge that much. That's where asking great questions and really understanding what you'll get out of the service is so important. And to not discount the high price, not to fall for the low price, but to do your research on both ends to understand what you'll get out of the process instead of just choosing based on price, which, especially when you're out of work, can be tempting. And career professionals understand that and still need to put food on their tables. So watch out for those discounted services. They may not always be what they seem. So as you're looking to find career professionals, again, I would recommend going to the Career Thought Leaders Association website. You have a dedicated group of folks there who are committed to their continuing education and or have the highest training that is possible, at least at this point, in the resume writing business through the Resume Writing Academy. If you have any questions or concerns or anything else that you could share with other consumers that can help them select the best career provider, I'd love to hear them. You can always connect with me at Marie, M-A-R-I-E, at astrategicadvantage.com. And we look forward to seeing you here again next week on the Career Confidant.
Thank you for listening to The Career Confidant. Marie Zimenoff will return again with another terrific guest next Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific on the Voice America Business Channel. Be sure to join us then.